California's Gold is produced in association with KCET Los Angeles and is seen statewide on California Public Television. This series is endorsed by the California Teachers Association, the California School Boards Association, and the California Library Association. Well, this is going to be fun. We are here on a beautiful summer afternoon here in Surf City in Huntington Beach here in Southern California. Lots of surfboards, lots of boogie boards, lots of teeny-weeny yellow polka dot bikinis. But it didn't always used to be this way in California at the beach. And what we're going to do is kind of talk a little bit about this. Our tour guide through the history of swimwear in California is Betty Madden, who is a costume designer. Betty's all outfitted herself here today. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. But we are here for a fashion show, Betty, because you're going to kind of walk us through periods of time and talk to us a little bit about what people used to wear at the beach. It's gone through a lot of different phases, hasn't it?
It sure has, Hugh. To get up to that itty-bitty yellow polka dot bikini, we started out fully clothed at the beach.
All right, let's talk about that, because here are our models. Stroll for us, models. Tell us what we're seeing right here, Betty.
Well, this would be a warm August day in 1900, the Victorian period, and as you can see, Nancy is wearing a beautiful summery white Victorian dress. But the gentleman, note that he's dressed in wool.
This is a wool suit.
That's correct, and this was what the gentleman of the time would be wearing. This is like a Sunday stroll after maybe going to church in the morning.
But they're not wearing bathing suits.
That's correct. Actually, for the ladies, it was not acceptable for women to be swimming.
What would they be doing out here at the beach dressed like this?
They're just taking the ocean air.
Taking the air?
That's correct. They're strolling the beach to get a little bit of the ocean air.
Now, would they have been walking on boardwalks, or would they have been walking on the sand like this?
I think they would be walking on a boardwalk or the sand, whatever was their pleasure.
Now, is it hot in that wool suit?
Very much.
Is it hot in that dress?
No, I'm just fine.
Okay, so she's okay. So the women would have been okay.
That's correct.
The men would have been the ones sweating in those wool suits.
What a gentleman he is.
Can you all stroll, just walk down a little bit and then just come right back, because this is very interesting. This is the way they did it. Now, what era would this have been?
This would be 1900 to 1910, about that time frame.
And they would have just come to the beach, and it was a big social event to come to the beach. They just wouldn't get wet.
That's correct. They would not go into the water.
Wow, this is very interesting. You all look great. But we're here to talk about bathing suits, so I think you all need to go switch back into something else, because we're going to have a whole thing here.
Great idea.
Your name is?
Gray.
Nice to meet you,
Nice
sir.
to meet you.
Nancy?
Nice to meet you. We're going to be seeing you all later on in the fashion show. Promenade back up there. They're probably getting some stares out here dressed like this, aren't they?
I'm sure that they are. There's a lot of people around us here enjoying the surf, and they're all enjoying watching us, wondering what we're doing here, all dressed up at the beach.
Okay, time has passed, and Betty, we are back. We have our same model here, but she's now, well, that's really, is that a bathing suit?
That is a bathing suit.
When would that have been a bathing suit?
About 1904, 1905. This is what the ladies would have worn. Now, you remember the Victorian dress that you just saw. This is progress.
Was this shocking progress?
Yes, when it first was seen, yes, it was shocking.
Now, she's wearing shoes.
That's correct. They still did not go into the water. It was about being at the beach and taking in the ocean air.
So she still would not have gotten into the water.
That's correct.
What was the advantage of this? What was this called?
Well, it was considered beachwear because you notice the shorter sleeve and the very short skirt. That her legs are actually showing, even though they're stockings. Oh my gosh!
But she would wear stockings?
Yes, she would be wearing stockings at the time.
And she would be carrying the parasol.
That's correct.
Why is that? To protect her dainty skin?
That's correct.
Wow. Can you imagine swimming in this thing?
No.
Because I would think that it would get, well, they never did swim in this, did they?
Not really. If they did, they would splash around in the water a bit, but they would sit in a chaise lounge and maybe read a book and just enjoy the ocean air.
And would the men still be wearing their suits?
Well, the men had suits at this time, yes. They had a wool suit. Not a three-piece business suit, but a wool bathing suit.
Okay, which would have been a full suit as
yes,
well.
it came to at the knees in
Wow.
the beginning.
Wow, that's amazing. This would have been a swimming dress.
That's
Or a
correct.
taking the air dress, because they still weren't swimming.
That's true.
All right, now we move on. Now we're getting in the water, but just barely. Look at this.
Now, you notice for the first time we're seeing legs.
Oh,
Bare
my.
legs, bare feet.
Yeah, but we're not seeing much else. Look how they're covered here. This is amazing.
But you have to look here, bare arms. This is very, very forward.
Uh-huh.
And look, they're actually in the water.
Yeah. And they would have worn these big hats,
That's correct.
and she's still carrying the parasol.
That's correct, to keep her from getting the sun, direct sun.
But I still don't understand how in the world somebody could swim in something like this.
Well, it was the matter of what was proper,
Uh-huh.
proper clothing. If you think in terms of what society was dressing as in this time frame, this is very forward thinking,
Really?
very much so.
Because look, you can see, well, you can't see her knees. Her knees are still hidden.
Knees are still covered, yes.
And her arms are bare,
That's right.
but that's about it.
That's about it.
And they probably wouldn't go very far into the water. They would just kind of be wading in the waves, just right here in the front.
That's the key word, waiting. It was all about waiting.
Now we're moving up in time. Now this is pretty risque right here.
That's correct. But you notice it's all wool. They are wearing wool.
You notice it's wool too, don't you?
Yes.
It's hot.
It's
isn't
hot
it?
and itchy.
And itchy.
Very itchy.
And you're wearing a top. He's wearing a shirt.
That's correct. At this time, the chest still would not have been exposed.
Really?
It was just not socially acceptable.
But look how low cut this is.
That's right. By the mid-20s, women's bathing suits were becoming acceptable to take some sun.
Uh-huh.
You notice she doesn't have a parasol. She's not protecting her skin.
I gotcha. And is that a bathing cap she's got on?
Well, yeah, that's the cap to keep the hair from being loose. Yes,
And they would have actually romped in the water.
That's
Can
right.
you all romp just a little bit? Just not in the water, but just kind of, let's just get an idea of them romping.
There they go. Well, we finally made it to the water.
But you know, that's quite a, that was quite a step forward, wasn't it?
That was a very large step forward. Notice how short, how much leg exposure she has compared to the family that we just left.
Wow.
They were covered to the knees. Now we actually see the thighs.
Oh my gosh.
How risque.
Time has passed.
Time has
More skin.
More skin showing. Notice how much shorter and the more leg exposure that we have.
And more cleavage.
And more cleavage. Yes.
Now, what year
Deeper
is
back.
this?
This would be the early 30s.
Uh-huh. And we're making kind of a fashion statement with the bathing cap here. Look at this. Is this an authentic bathing cap from the 30s, or is this something you just kind of put together?
No, I don't think this would be an authentic one. This is something that we put together.
Uh-huh.
But this style line would have been the style line of the period. It's difficult to get some of these original pieces because of the fibers that were being used at the time, and they disintegrate with time.
So was this again is this made of wool?
Yes.
What does it feel like?
I'm lucky this one's lined.
So wait a minute, come on over here just a minute. This really is, can you pull that up just a little bit? This was a two-piece.
Correct.
Well, not really, it's connected,
Yeah.
but it had a kind of a skirt to it.
Yes. It has a skirted look as opposed to this one.
Wow, this is very, very interesting. Let's get a shot of all of you here together. Boy, you can see times are changing right here. We've got about what? About a 30-year period right here in this one shot?
No, actually, the progression was very rapid. We're looking at late teen years, or 1904, up to about 1932.
What a nice-looking group here at the beach. All dressed in wool and burning up.
Dressed in wool.
Now we're here at the beach with one of the lifeguards, and you will notice that he is looking straight ahead because you have to be looking at the water at all times.
Got to constantly watch the water, that's true.
But even though you're looking straight ahead at the water, from time to time, I know you must notice what kinds of bathing suits, especially the young women, are wearing here at the beach. What is it? You saw our little fashion show out there. You had never seen anything like that before, had you?
No, I haven't. Mostly around the pier here. You'll see it's a fashion show around here as well. With me, the girls wearing thongs and whatnot. Nothing like those old school bathing suits.
So which do you prefer? Would you rather go back in history and be interested in history, or are you happy with today's beach scene?
Well, speaking as a lifeguard, I think it's much safer with the skimpier bathing suits.
Safer?
Yeah.
So you're looking at it from purely a safety standpoint?
Purely safety. Yeah, the big, huge dresses they were wearing back then, it's hard to swim in.
Yeah.
So sometimes you'll see people out here actually wearing just clothing, and it's definitely a hazard.
It just doesn't work.
No, it's hard to swim in. There's no way.
So from your perspective as a lifeguard here at Huntington Beach, the less clothing, the better as far as safety is concerned.
As far as safety is concerned, yes.
So there we have a safety observation from a lifeguard here at the beach. Bare-chested men at the beach, and this was revolutionary.
Revolutionary.
Now,
exactly.
how did this start?
Well, in the 32 Olympics, we had Johnny Weissmuller.
The swimmer.
The swimmer, yes, meets Hollywood. And the film industry adapted on Clark Gable, established a bathing suit look that was the one piece.
Now, wasn't there a particular movie that was a breakthrough movie as far as men appearing without shirts?
I believe It Happened One Night. And that turned things in a new direction.
With Clark Gable.
With Clark Gable, exactly.
So he appeared in the movie without a shirt on at the beach. He was just bare-chested.
Bare-chested.
And that opened up this whole idea.
That's correct. And this was in the mid to late 30s.
Now, how revolutionary was this to see a man dressed? Although I got to tell you, would men have worn them that high up?
They wore them up above the navel. Yes, it was a very long rise. Belly buttons were not being seen.
Oh, but don't you feel kind of dorky out here wearing this thing?
Definitely, yes, absolutely.
Because he looks like Hot Pockets here with the.
And you notice it's still wool.
Oh my gosh, really?
Still wool.
And a belt and the whole thing.
That's correct.
But what made it revolutionary was they were bare-chested.
Bare-chested.
Now, was this the kind of thing that when it happened, women were shocked by it, or men were a little hesitant to do this, or what happened when men started showing up like this?
Well, I think once the film came out and so many people were exposed to the California lifestyle, they began to accept it. They said, if Clark Gable can do it, why can't I?
And Johnny Weissmuller swimming in all of those. Well, he did a lot of the Tarzan movies.
That's right.
And he was always bare-chested.
Always bare-chested. So it's more acceptable socially.
And was California always on the cutting edge of beachwear from the very early days?
Yes, in the United States, California led the beach scene. As a matter of fact, it led the beach scene around the world from about the 30s on. Catalina was established in 1912.
Really? Catalina Swimwear.
Catalina Swimwear was established.
All right, let's move on to the next one. Keep your pants pulled up there. Don't let them drop down. Now we're coming. What is this?
This is a little play suit from the 40s. This would have been post-World War II. And the idea is that we're bearing midriff
right
on a
here.
female. Yes. we are actually seeing skin.
So even though we have a young model here, this would have been worn by full-grown women
Yes,
as
it
well.
would.
And
Yes.
it was a play suit.
Play suit, yes.
At the beach or other places as well?
Well, at the pool or at the beach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, this looks great. And this is our first hint at a
flash.
midriff here.
That's right.
And now we go all the way to the
Bikini.
bikini. Is this the first bikini?
1947, we started seeing the two-piece suit. The bikini was introduced at that time, and we've never looked back.
Now, was the bikini a California creation?
Yes, it was.
What's
It
the
started
story
here.
behind it?
Well, it was to do with the Bikini Islands, where they were doing nuclear testing, and this is what came out of it. It was an explosion. It was a huge explosion.
So, you mean the name bikini comes from an explosion?
That's right. And we were testing our bombs in the Bikini Islands, and it was a huge explosion. And so, this is what it has. The effect it had on fashion.
Now, who came up with the idea? Because this is a totally bare midriff here. Was a bikini meant two pieces, or I thought, why couldn't you just call it a two-piece bathing suit?
Well, because it wouldn't be an explosion, would it?
Yeah.
Believe it or not, a bathing suit with matching stockings. Very soxy. More daring Gernrich suits have cutouts that look like giant moths have been at work. But getting down to the bare facts, the bikini wins going away. Or coming toward you, for that matter. It just proves that old adage about speeches and bathing suits, the briefer, the better.
Now, this is attractive, but it looks to me like we're going backwards from the bikini to this.
That's true, but also you notice the age difference. As we mature, ladies are reluctant to allow our midriff to be showing. So Mary and myself are wearing a little bit more of a cover-up look, a one-piece, and what I have on is what's considered a beach set.
A beach set?
Yes.
What do you mean?
Well, because I have a jacket that actually goes with the suit.
Was this a 50s, a 60s kind of a thing?
This was a late 50s, early 60s type of thing to do what I'm doing, and what Mary is wearing is the earlier 50s.
Now, what company would have been making these? Were these California companies
Yes.
that designed and made these swimsuits?
Yes, it would be Kohler, California, Janssen, and Catalina. Those would be the three majors.
So we're talking Cole, Janssen, Catalina.
Catalina.
These were the three big swimsuit designers and makers, all of them out of California.
That's correct.
Wow, this is all very interesting. Look, we got these two young ladies over here who just were walking by. What do you think about all of this, ladies?
It's crazy how much like bathing suits have changed throughout the years and how it went from all this to
this.
this.
Now, would you wear something like this? Had you ever seen anything like this before?
No, I've never seen anything like this.
Come on over, and what about this? Have you ever seen anything like this?
I think it really shows like how conservative people used to be like in the past, you know, and how things have just changed and people feel more comfortable and want to open up more.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how bathing suits were made out of materials that weren't elastic, because most bathing suits these days are all elastic and stretchy and
they let you move.
Can you imagine swimming in something like this?
It'd be like swimming in a big t-shirt or something.
Sleeping in something like that, maybe.
Wow, this is where we've come right here. Betty, this is amazing. Let's get everybody together, because stay with us, ladies. This is an amazing grouping. And to think that all of this has happened in really a relatively short period of time.
Yeah, less than 100 years. 60 years, 65 years, yes.
And where does it go from here?
I don't know, Hill. I don't know.
Boy, this is about as much contrast as you can find. We're all kind of mixed in here together. All of this part of the history of the beach in California and what people wore when they came to the beach in California. Some of it looks pretty strange. Some of it looks very unusual, but rather than laughing at it, making fun of it, it's really a part of our history that we all need to know about and appreciate, because over the years, all of this has been part of the beach experience.
That's correct, yes. And we should enjoy the history of knowing where this all started and where it came from and where we fit into it today.
Born and raised in L.A., not only was she an Olympic swimming athlete, but she became a mega movie star. Starting in the 1940s, Esther Williams made over 25 films with MGM, most with water themes. In fact, Esther Williams became synonymous with glamour in the water. And what better person to talk with us about the history of swimsuits in California? So we're here to talk with you about the history of swimwear, how far swimsuits have come over the years.
Yes.
And the best place to start is right here in your book, the book of your life. And on page 161, there's a picture of you in your first swimsuit at age 3.
I think it must have been a hand-me-down, because look at all the holes in that suit.
Now that's the way young people used to dress when they went to the beach. You swam in that.
We had to, because you see how my brother David was covered over with it's not a swim trunk like.
It's like a whole suit of clothes almost. How did people swim?
I don't think they intended us to, and especially the women. The men probably could swim in that funny-looking suit.
But in the early days, when people went to the beach, did they just go to wade in the water? They didn't swim.
You know what they did? I call it, it's not very dignified term, but fanny dunking.
That's all there was to it.
They just dunked that fanny, and they screamed a lot because the water was cold, and it must have been very uncomfortable to be in all these clothes
that got wet.
Soggy. And
they weren't very complimentary to the figure either.
No, and they weren't meant for racing. They didn't think girls should compete anyway.
Now, was the idea that everything had to be covered?
Yes. That was what we depicted in $1 Million Mermaid, which was the Annette Kellerman story.
I've got your picture right here from $1 Million Mermaid, and you're showing a little leg right down here at the bottom.
Yes, and actually the shoes would be more like boots.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why we didn't put me in boots. I probably drew the line and said, that's enough.
But this is a depiction of the way women would have gone to the beach back in the 1890s.
And the umbrella, it was very necessary, because they weren't supposed to get their faces tan. They weren't. I don't know what the intention was. They certainly wasn't to go swimming.
Do you think women accepted it quietly, or do you think inside they were wishing they could take some of this stuff off?
Well, as time went on and the flapper age came in, and they were doing the Charleston and all of that, I think by that time they were in revolt.
Mm-hmm.
They were rebelling.
Well, speak of rebelling, I've got it right here. Now, this is you as what you became very quickly known as the woo-woo girl.
Well, that's because Mickey Rooney, this was from the Andy Hardy series, which was a very popular series.
Now, this was in the 40s.
Yes.
And this would have been representative of what women were wearing on the beach.
You see, the back has elastic thread that make little puckers all across the back, and you see how it makes a drape in the front that is figure friendly. And but the midriff would have been a shocking thing at that time.
Absolutely.
Yes.
These were well-designed, beautiful one-piece.
This was gold.
Suits.
We had a fabric. Many times we made up fabrics ourselves. This one is mirrors sewn on
Oh, wow.
on a flesh-colored suit so that it would sparkle.
Well, now these were, did you find that women, when they would watch your movies, would see things in the movies that they wanted to buy in the stores as far as your swimsuits?
And to help them remember, I went into the swimsuit business.
Right.
I helped them remember, and there it was right on the counter with those darts and everything that made it.
And the
figure-friendly.
swimsuits that you're selling today under your name, most of them, if not all of them, are flashbacks to the original suits that you wore in the 30s, 40s, and 50s.
It's called a classic. Yes.
What is it about swimsuits that have always made them something, you know, swimsuit competition for Miss America? Pinup girls always wear swimsuits.
Yes.
Well, what is
Well, it was the least amount of clothes that you could wear in public without getting arrested. And they got smaller and smaller, like everything else in our society. And bikinis now are dangerously close to making you become nude. So it's gone too far. This thing of classics that we've been talking about,
I think they're going to come back.
They're apt to go on forever.
Absolutely.
Because they make a woman look her best.
It's gold, all right, the history of swimsuits in California. And if you'd like to see this episode again, share it with family or friends, or perhaps donate a copy to your local school or library. All you have to do is call 1-800-266-5727, and we'll be glad to send it to you right away.